now to hand over Felicia to talk to Marianne Thomas, who is, of course, the Special Advisor for the Regional Tourism Review. And Felicia and Marianne are going to discuss what is happening on the ground in the bush and what we think that visitor infrastructure is going to need to get up and running again. Over to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. And welcome, Marianne. Lovely to see you and lovely to have the chance to talk with you again. It's always terrific to share some insights with you. So thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thanks, Felicia. It really is great to be here. Can I thank you? Can I thank Margie? This is a really great initiative and a great forum, and I've tuned in and out to my colleagues this morning. I've been in the office listening to little bits of what they've had to say, and if I could, just Margie asked a question about how comfortable people were about getting on public transport. Can I tell you that I'm going to Melbourne tomorrow because Parliament is sitting. That will be the first time I've gone back into the CBD for many months. I'm really looking forward to it. I won't have any trepidation getting on the tram because I'll be responsible for my own personal hygiene and health, and I know that our transport system, our transport minister's done an incredible job ensuring the hygiene standards on our public transport are really, really high. But I'm looking forward to seeing our beautiful city of Melbourne again.
I'm sure we'll be happy to welcome you back, and we'll probably even be more happier when we're allowed to sit down and have a coffee with you somewhere. We might just jump in, Marianne. I'd like to talk a little bit, obviously, about the Regional Tourism Review itself. And, you know, you and the team did a great piece of work. It's actually about a year ago now. It was last sort of August, I think, when the recommendations were submitted to government. At that time, you were very keen to ensure that this process was about making sure that our regional operators could take advantage of every opportunity to grow and to support their businesses. And of course, COVID's hit and everything's been stymied ever since then. I know that the recommendations from the Regional Tourism Review have been rolled into what's now the COVID recovery plan. And of course, as Minister said, watch this space with the budget, so we've all got fingers crossed. But are you able to talk with us a little bit today? In particular, what are some of the key things that might have migrated, if you will, from the review into what is now a COVID recovery plan for tourism? If you can talk a little bit about that.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Felicia. So if we go back to the tourism review, and can I also use this opportunity to thank anyone who's tuned in today who is part of that review, to thank you so much for your participation. I feel very confident, as does the Minister, when we took the work to Cabinet, that we were able to say that this is a piece of work for which tourism operators across the state have really had a very big say in. So feeling very confident that we've captured the views and the feelings of those out there in the business. But when we undertook this work, let's be clear that this was about devising a 10-year strategy, and it was the first one, right? We were looking to develop for the first time ever a regional tourism strategy. So all of that still stands. Of course, it's incredible to think of what has happened since then, and I'd just like to take a moment to say that the first thing that stymied our moving forward on the work was the fires, devastating bushfires. But, you know, with fires, we're well practiced, we're well rehearsed, we know how to fight them, we know how to put them out, and we were well on our way to recovery. I mean, I understand those communities are still in the recovery phase, but we're well rehearsed, unfortunately, living where we do, in how to manage fire. Then COVID hit. Well, with a once-in-100-year event, we weren't so well rehearsed, but as other speakers have said today, the numbers today are spectacular and looking great, and I'm looking forward to some more announcements. But so this has all put a big hold on the work. It is now being wound into the recovery plan, but everything that we did still stands the test, the post-COVID test, if you like. And indeed, if anything, it just brings greater urgency to the reform work. So I'm feeling very positive about the work that the review team did, the way in which it's been embraced by government. But as Minister Pakula said, the proof will be in the pudding, and that's in the budget when it comes. But so, the work has been well received, and I'm looking forward post-budget to coming back out again to talk to all of the stakeholders, to talk them through all of the recommendations so that they can see how their work contributed to the program going forward.
That would be great, Marianne, and certainly, as VTIC, we would welcome the chance to support any opportunity to engage with the industry post the budget. But of course, we'll all be hanging out for whatever date that that announcement will be made. Marianne, I know that this is sometimes hard to quantify, but you're well aware of the damage that has been done to the tourism sector as a result of, as you said, the double whammy of bushfires and then straight into COVID. I know you're very connected into regional tourism operators. I know that you talk with them frequently. But if you think about today, for instance, Great Ocean Road Regional Tourism has just launched a study that they've done, which shows that the region is on par to lose 5,000 jobs by the end of June next year. And they're looking, obviously, for considerable investment, $150 million investment in their region just to help them get back to where they were before. How much damage do you actually think? That's just one example of one region. But what sort of damage are you seeing or perceiving in some of your conversations with people around what's happening region to region, and what do you think we can do to get back on that road to recovery?
Yeah, okay, look, thanks, Felicia. Well, I mean, I need to be very clear. It's been a devastating year, absolutely, for our tourism operators. And I've spoken to people, I've face-to-face and had these conversations, and the stories, some of them are absolutely heartbreaking. But what I can also tell you is that in regional Victoria, because we are now at a different step, we're at step 3, there has been the gradual reopening. What we are now experiencing in the latest conversations I've had have been with people who are desperately trying to get staff. They lost their people. Now they need to get them back on board. So, I mean, staff and the workforce is always a challenge for regional tourism operators, and they're experiencing it right now and will continue to do so. So we've got to unite to send a really strong message to when we open, when the ring of steel comes down, that we are open for business, and grow that confidence with the operators that they can bring on people, that they can bring them on in a ongoing capacity, not just casual, that we can keep this demand up for the businesses in regional Victoria. So look, there's no doubt it's difficult. Many businesses across all sectors have been hit, but I'm obviously very aware of the impact on tourism businesses, particularly, in the area in which I live. Now, I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish about this at all. So I do absolutely understand that while regional Victorians can get out and about and, in fact, taking the opportunity to visit other parts of the states, without the money from Melbourne, it's just not going to be possible for businesses to thrive. So I know that everyone is waiting for that time when our Melbourne visitors, who are the vast bulk of visitors to regional Victoria in the first place, once we can get them back, we need to continue to grow their experience. So we've had COVID. I mean, it's, as I said, been devastating, but we had some serious challenges to start with in terms of tourism in regional Victoria. We've had some challenges. And indeed, I mean, I might say, Felicia, the other day I got on booking.com just to check what was available over the Christmas break. And it was very limited availability in regional Victoria as is. And we still have that challenge, one which that we are determined to overcome, which is about the quality of accommodation offerings that we have and the need to lift that quality in order to attract the high yield visitors. So the challenges that we had, we still have, exacerbated, of course, by COVID, which has impacted business as usual.
Yeah, those are really, really good points, Marianne. And I have to say, I concur a lot of the conversations I'm having right now. I keep talking about the intellectual property that we're losing, you know, the brain drain from people leaving our sector. We had trouble before COVID in sometimes attracting people enough to meet demand. We're going to have serious trouble afterward because we have lost so many.
Can I jump in, Felicia? Can I just jump in there? Because you know, I did want to say as well that in my region, in the Daylesford-Macedon region, I've also been absolutely amazed at the way in which so many businesses have taken the opportunity, certainly in the first wave, to get their businesses up to scratch in terms of their improving their digital offering and making themselves you know, able to offer or to, you know, to get their bookings online and so on, and just be a little bit more digital savvy. And in terms of our wine and food industry, which of course is one of the things for which we're famous for in regional Victoria, what I saw from some of my local high-end restaurants was truly amazing. I mean, some really great rethinking the way in which they could continue to provide top quality food experiences delivered to your door. And so, and in fact, one of the restaurants in Kyneton, which is very well known and admired, Colenso, refocused to a home delivery business to eat at home. And indeed, Catherine is maintaining that business and wondering whether or not she'll open a restaurant again. But so let's also make sure that we capture the innovation that's occurred during this time and congratulate those who have really seized that opportunity, because, you know, we need to celebrate the operators who have really thought differently and tried to be as creative as they can through this devastating time.
Yes, we've seen a lot of reimagining of our product. I refuse to say pivoting these days, but yeah, a lot of reimagining of product. And one would hope, as you say, that that does continue, even when we get into whatever a COVID normal world looks like in Victoria. It would be great to see some of those innovations carry on. It would be a bit of a silver lining potentially from what we've gone through, that we've, you know, it's kind of forced us to look at a different way of presenting our products and services. Marianne, you spoke a little bit, you know, I have to say, I hate that word ring of steel. If there's one expression I can't stand, it's that one. But look, it is what we're living in at the moment, and it has created real issue. You are correct in that, you know, our regional operators really do depend very heavily on people from Greater Melbourne to get out and about. What do you see? And I think Minister Pakula talked about some of those challenges around the social license, if you will, and some of the concerns that we have around managing, you know, what has been enormous pent-up demand. People are going to want to, you know, get the heck out of Melbourne for sure. We need to get outside our four walls we've been living in and our 5K zones. But most importantly, I think, you know, there will be this surge in visitation. What do you see some of those challenges, and how can the regional operators maybe help to prepare a little bit for what we're going to experience? Because it will be nothing, I think, like we've ever seen before. I know I'll be number one out the door.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know, Steve Rowe from Macedon Ranges Tourism will tell you that when we had that little break in the middle there, the operators in Daylesford Macedon region had never been so busy. Now, when we talk about the social licence for tourism operators in regional Victoria, once again, we need to remember that was a problem that we already had. And indeed, with our aspiration to grow tourism in regional Victoria, it's one that we need to keep working on. And one of my contentions has always been that we too often fall back on the economic argument when we're talking to locals, and we say, well, it's good for our local economy. Well, a lot of locals are not that invested, particularly in the local economy. And I think we need to think a little bit differently and reframe the way we talk about the benefits of tourism in regional Victoria. And we need to talk more about what it does to increase the amenity for the locals who live there, as well as being a great place to invite our friends and family. So it's a different way of talking about it. I certainly am 100% committed to the economic benefits because I understand them and see how they're very real, particularly for young people in our regions, in terms of creating great opportunities for local jobs. But if you're an older retired person who's perhaps moved to the country for some peace and quiet, you're more likely to be the person leading the Facebook group that's opposed to some of our tourism developments and so on. So we need to engage with communities, and we need to talk about the amenity that benefits locals as well. And I know the Minister talked before about some of the early money that we've put out to ensure that we're creating greater attractions and experiences in regional Victoria, and that's money that's gone to Tower Hill for an upgrade in my own region for a bike path connecting Wood End and Macedon, Riddles Creek and so on, and Macedon, Paynesville, Boardwalk, Echo Pods at Mount Buffalo. There's a whole lot of early money that's been invested so that we can address the job losses as a result of COVID, but we are enhancing facilities that can be enjoyed by locals. So that's a challenge to the operators to think a little bit differently, and indeed to our RTBs in the way in which they engage with their communities. On that ring, you know, can I just say I can't wait to welcome you back, because the way Melburnians back, because I think one of the things that all locals like to do when they're given that opportunity, we all like to show off where we live, and certainly it gives me joy to see people in the town that I live in being really quite in wonder at all that we have to offer. So we do need to be reframe the way we talk about tourism and its benefits.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I guess one of the things that's gone through my mind just listening to you speak as well is, how do we communicate the important role that tourism actually plays in those regional economies? Because a lot of the amenities that the local community take for granted happens because visitors come into town and spend money there, which then allows the town to employ people, which pays more taxes into the revenue coffers. So there is this line that we need to draw and explain to locals to understand the really critical role that the visitor economy plays, not just in their economic, but also in the social fabric of regional communities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, local government plays a really critical role here. And of course, we can't do the work that we want to do in regional Victoria without their buy-in. And one of the things that I certainly learnt from travelling around regional Victoria during the review was that there is so much talent out there that needs to be unlocked, and we just need to give these people a platform in order to engage with communities. So, I mean, that's a challenge I'll throw out to for everyone on the call today, because no one wants to hear from politicians about this. They want to hear from people in their community unpacking the advantages that tourism delivers to locals.
Good points. Marianne, we might have to wrap it up there. I could talk to you for another 20 minutes, I have to say, because I think both of us have so many ideas in terms of what we'd love to see happen. But can I say thank you so much for joining us today? As I said in the beginning, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and we certainly will look forward to the budget announcements, and fingers crossed. I know the Minister has said that there'll be some good things for us in that bag of tricks. So hopefully we'll, we desperately need some good news in our sector.
Oh, I absolutely understand that. I look forward to seeing you all out and about in regional Victoria in the not too distant future. and making sure that I certainly come to close the loop with all of those who gave so much of their time to this really important piece of work as a way of both appreciating your work but showing you that all of that effort has delivered.
Thank you, Marianne. I know most people will be very grateful for that opportunity. Thanks again, and lovely to see you.
Thanks, Felicia. Thanks, Margie. Bye.